Don't push this guy. Just kill this. I need more chiefs down here.
We can push this. Darter, stand. Follow CC. Darter, stand. Follow CC.
You want me jumping on base?
One shot 260.
Yeah, no. You need to
Keep
get
going.
it.
Push low. Push low.
We're peeking around. We're gonna kill
800 Chieftain. 800 Chieftain.
We're gonna kill this guy. Keep pushing.
Everything push. Everything push.
Keep pushing. They're pushing.
Yes, let's go.
600 Chieftain. 600 Chieftain.
Hey gamers, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the different tanks I've been running and the strategies I have found useful in the tried and true 1v1 tournaments that you guys know I love to do here on the channel. I actually don't produce too many videos on 1v1s themselves because I find, generally speaking, they're less exciting than the 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, and 5v5 tournaments that I run with my also highly skilled teammates, because I have to say, competitive, a lot of what competitive is, I would say 60% of what makes me a competitive player in a game like this is not only, not just your player skill, which obviously that's very important, and if you're not a good player, you will not do well, but surrounding yourself with teammates that you work well with that are also very skilled. Obviously that does not apply for 1v1 tournaments. So when they banned reward tanks, it started off being the natural assumption being super conquerors would rule, and while that is in many cases true, as you're seeing this 1v1 from last week on Berlin, or actually 2 weeks ago considering I'm recording this on Monday. I don't know when you guys will see this, but anyway, this was my first time running a tournament on this map, and as you can see, the Super Conqueror, he tries to shoot me in the beginning, but he bounces, I get a shot, stopping to aim. I am currently way up in HP, things are looking great, and this is what the Super Conqueror does, but disaster strikes because he shoots me and ammo racks me, and unlike medium tanks, like the T110E5, even though that's been removed from this mode, you do not get the fuel modification that allows you to reduce the penalty for damage modules, which is huge. So even though we're up 475 HP, I have to be really careful here. So now he's a one-shot. Things are looking good, but I'm ammo racked and he is most likely not. Things are still looking good though. I am able to keep using my armor effectively. He is not particularly skilled, and we're going in for the kill shot when I accidentally right click, and then I begin to panic here because I'm like, wait a second, again, I am ammo racked, I take another hit, and then suddenly this is not looking very good at all. I might not even get in the next shot off before he does, and that is when he finishes me off. I was so frustrated here because I outplayed him from the very beginning, and he shot my lower plate enough in the right spot, and he damaged my ammo rack, which is very, very common. And you could run double repair kits, and then just always be ready to fix ammo racks, but I'm gonna be honest, you often take loader or driver damage, which can be a death sentence too from a mobile tank, and so I just don't want to give up food or a med kit to be able to run double repair kits, and even that might not be enough if you're particularly unlucky. And so I was feeling extremely frustrated and was fed up with dealing with the Super Conqueror's bad ammo rack. I could run modified configuration, which I do run on the FE201 now, but this is a Super Conqueror, and I need to have competitive loadouts for things like Clan Wars, like Call to Arms tournaments, and of course Clan Wars playoffs, and also the Elite Front when my tanks are locked. So I can't just run whatever I want, and you have different important loadouts for that, so I can't necessarily run what I would rather run for my own personal use. So I had to figure out something else, and you're going to take a look and see in the following replays exactly what I decided is my preferred pick for 1v1 tournaments and why I would run it over the Super Conqueror on almost any map. So this next round I am running the T110E5, which since the buff back in 2020 is actually in many ways competitive with the Super Conqueror in flat ground contests of pure DPM and all inning each other, because it's the E5, much like say its medium tank cousin, the T110E5, both of them have weak spots, although the E5 has much better armor than the E6 on the weak spot. So like AP rounds, APCR rounds, if they're not aimed well, it's a good chance they just bounce off of like the angles on the machine gun port. So also, this is the hardest opponent, War Child from OPIC here, and right here, I try and make a play. I'm learning how to play this map, and right away, he bounces off of, gets the shot is absorbed by my track, and so I'm just trying to push in. Here, he bounces, I'm firing heat. I should have been firing AP, but this is my first tournament round in the E5 in a very long time, and I was not prepared. Nowadays, I just run AP unless I need heat, and with intuition I can change rapidly. So there, he just is expecting to be able to just go through with his APCR, but the armor plate of the, now slow us down for a sec, if you look at this, the armor on the T110E5, he bounces here, the upper plate is angled, you can see the different, like the angling here, and you can just see like if you are just kind of aiming and you auto aim, maybe you're just rapidly trying to put a shot in as soon as you load, it's a good chance that with APCR, I mean, it's got decent penetration, but it doesn't have the same, APCR does not have great normalization and doesn't do particularly well against armored surfaces, and compared to my 340 millimeters of heat pen, I think it's 327, 326, I think it's like 326 millimeters of APCR penetration on the Super Conqueror, he is far more likely to bounce an angled upper plate shot against me than I am, or let's say that he bounced here on the turret too, than I am to bounce against him. Although I believe I bounced his shot, I bounced my shot as well, because this ridge is a little hard to play with only 8 degrees of gun depression. I lock him down, he pens me this time. You have to be careful because the E5 does have 200 less HP than the Super Conqueror, and so that is something you gotta be mindful of. The side armor is better though. So, my reload is potentially better because I have a bond rammer. I don't know what he's running. He might not have a bond rammer, I only have bounty. But you see, he's not aiming very well. If I pause again, we look at the different shots. This one here, one against this turret here. He bounced a shot against the lower plate, 2 against the lower plate here, it looks like. Because the lower plate is also, you can see it's kind of angled here, and these sides angle away. It's kind of like a boat-shaped hull, like the M48 Patton. And so because he's aiming down, trying to shoot my lower plate, it's an awkward angle, and he's bouncing. He bounces twice off the lower plate there. A Super Conqueror has one of the absolute weakest lower plates in the game, and so you can almost overmatch the lower plate. It's just that bad. And there he puts a shot into my tracks. He was probably aiming for that again. You can see he's, not able to really handle the T110E5, and sure, so as I was saying, the armor on the E5 is not as good for holding ridge lines, and the 8 degrees of gun depression is limiting, to be sure, but the armor is more useful than the Super Conquerors in brawls, in close quarters, or aiming at each other, or potentially face hugging, drive around circles. The mobility is also substantially improved when you have the likes of turbocharger. Even without a turbocharger and running against a turbocharged Super Conqueror, you do have better, better mobility. Your traverse speeds are a lot better, and so all of that combined makes the T110E5 a viable pick against Super Conquerors, because even if the ammo rack was not a problem on the Super Conqueror, I would still prefer the T110E5 in many situations. There are some maps where Super Conqueror is better, and don't get me wrong, I'm a huge Super Conqueror fan. I don't want people to think that I don't respect the Super Conqueror, because I love that tank. It is a meta-defining tech tree heavy tank, one of my favorite tanks in the entire game, and cannot be overstated just how good it is. So one of the things with this map I'm learning is that going to cap right away, depending on what the enemy brings, is a bad idea, because at this point I have easy side shots on this guy. And honestly, any tank could do this. A VZ55 would be nasty at this. I think the VZ55 on Berlin could be a meta pick, just because of how open it is and how many angles you can play. You get your burst off at mid-range on someone who's not ready for it, and then you can just fall back. You only have a 20-second reload. But I'm getting a little sidetracked here. I'm moving in here. At this point, I'm still running turbo. Later on in the next tournament, a week later, I started running um, I started running my bond events, which I have on my first pub loadout instead of my tournament setup. And you see here, I'm actually swapping over to his side because I have all the time in the world to come and reset. I'm up a little bit of HP, and I just have, extreme levels of confidence here that I'm going to be able to outplay my opponent. I actually know this guy personally. He's a nice guy. And we were talking afterwards, and I was explaining to him why the E5 is kind of being hard slept on because, if you were trying to shoot him, obviously a skilled Super Conqueror can and will pen you all the time, but there's something to be said for not being ammo racked, like, ever. So, here I'm just, I'm getting the worst RNG. You can see here, he bounces. If I pause this, he probably, let's see, where did he bounce? Yep, he fired at the upper plate, and he even shot on the right side. If you're shooting at a tank like this is especially useful when dealing with something like the 279E. You would much rather shoot on the side closer to you than this side. This side is angled away from you and is much stronger than this side. He fires on this side and it still bounces. And here I go. I actually messed that shot up. That could potentially be fatal. I'm backing up, backing up. I have not been damaged at all in the ammo rack this game, though. You see here, I'm looking for the shot, and I just fire. And with heat, I can just go through his armor, even his space, really easily. And then the final shot, I put right through there. That was a close game. I could have played that one better, but you can just see how having modules that don't break easily and having mobility and useful armor in a brawl compared to a super conqueror can make the difference between victory and death. See here, the following week, I should mention this is the only tier 10 I have 3 marked. I'm working hard on changing that, but this was definitely a very fun 3 mark grind. As you can see in the bottom, I actually running a different loadout. I am running hardening. Of course, you need hardening for that extra HP. Hardening, bond vents, and bond rammer. With this setup, you have a lot more DPM than a meta super conqueror running turbocharger. Running hardening in the first slot, turbocharger in the second slot, which with field mods you make a boosted slot. Although if you don't have a Chieftain, I would recommend, especially if you're playing a lot of tournaments and Clan Wars too, really, putting your bond hardening if you have it from the last season of ranked, and a bond turbocharger if you have that. They made it available 3 times now. Twice from ranked, first the test season and then the following season of ranked alongside the brand new bond turbocharger, and then the bond hardening, and then also recently the latest campaign. So there have been three chances to have one of those compared to one for the bond hardening. I really hope those are added to the bond shop soon. Please, Wargaming, we definitely could use that. Alongside bond versions of every single piece of equipment in the game, alongside bounty versions as well. That would be oh so amazing. You can also see I swapped from the Prophecy Clan War style to the Retribution Clan War style. I like this one a lot more, and I think it really fits the T110E5, and I really, really like it, especially because I run on my T95E6, which is the reward medium tank cousin to this tank in terms of role on the battlefield. It's like a medium tank version of the E5 with even better DPM. So I'm going up against a Progetto in this round. I think he's behind me for some reason. I'm not really sure why. Looking back, that doesn't make any sense, but he misses his shot against me. Like, that's fine. I'm honestly not too worried. This Progetto 65 player is a good player. He is in Gold League, and he's in ranked, and so the ranked badges, the cool thing is that if you're not active in ranked, you lose your badge. So he's currently in Gold League as of the last season in the spring. Unlike, say, one that could mean, well, you were good a long time ago or something. Anyway, the Progetto 65, he's also running the ranked badges 3D style for that. I'm really not sure why he'd run a Progetto. Auto reloaders can be useful because you can hold your shots and fire with DPM like a Progetto 46 to tier 8. You hold your shots, you fire over and over and over again single shot until you get to the very end when he's on low HP, and then you just clip at the end. But the downside is that he is you just don't have enough DPM to make that worth it, and the 65 in particular just does not have the HP or the armor and just straight up loses that fight every single time. So this was the first round on Sand River. Alright, we're back here on the other side on Sand River against a Super Conqueror. So some players on this map, they like to take a mid position, up around here and get shots, or take this ridge. Generally speaking though, I prefer to avoid any chance of getting caught out, because if you decide to play here, for example, and look to shoot someone who's playing mid, you could find out that he comes right behind you and gets that free shot on you. And it's, or vice versa. The thing with a 1v1 tournament is that honestly, 1v1 tournaments, they're skill-based, obviously. Skill's very important, but I would be lying if I said that skill was everything. A lot of it just comes down to timing, luck. I mean, frankly, if you're in the right place at the right time, if you can set up, for an example, you set up with a VZ on a corner or something, waiting for someone to cross. You shoot that cross, you get 2 shots in, you're reloading. You like looked at the map, you thought about where tanks would be likely to go, and you made a decision and you planned your tournament based off of that. That's all well and good, and sometimes that will work. Other times, due to no fault of your own, the players will do something different you don't expect, or a different standard play, and then they just happen to be the lucky one to play their initial strat and have you be unfortunate enough to be on the receiving end of that. And because of the 1v1 nature, with no second chances and nothing like that, no repair zones like in front line, like no way to recover from a major setback like that, it means that any kind of chance, like initial plays, can either be, you can get lucky and have it work, or you can get unlucky and have it not work and get caught yourself, or in not as dire situations, just not catch anyone out and then you're stuck. So I always like to just go to cap and be ready. Depending on the map, I will start capping, and that forces the enemy to come to me. So here I'm gonna hop on cap because I don't know, there's so much cover on this cap circle. I don't know where the Super Conqueror is gonna be. I didn't go north, partially just because, not only because of what I just talked about, but also because I have 8 degrees of gun depression to his 10, and I have a weak spot on my turret. He does not really have the same weak spot. He has gaps in his armor, but not in the same way. So I cannot, if I go and contest a ridge like that, I'm just doing everything I can to make the game in his favor. And so instead, I'm putting myself in a situation where I feel the advantages of the T110E5 versus the Super Conqueror are shown. We trade shots here. Right away, you can see that I'm able to reload before he does a little bit. He takes out my optics, not a problem. I'm firing AP at the moment, but you can see I switched to heat. I hit his gun, but he hits my gun, so we're fair, even in the trade here. I'm down 150 HP because the Super Conqueror has slightly more HP. Okay, it's 200 more HP at base. And now I'm continuing to show. He bounces, if I pause that for a sec, he can show, he bounces off that upper plate. Again, the upper plate is far more devastating in terms of the thickness than most Super Conqueror players give it credit for. Of course, maybe after this video is made and maybe a few more people start running it, that might change and stuff, but also the mobility. I'm not running turbo here, and I'm outpacing him, I'm able to move all around him. I didn't even need to fix my gun there. Never use any of my consumables. I might have ammo racked him, I'm not sure. Point is, I was in a situation where the E5 could dominate. He was in the Super Conqueror, and like it or not, the E5, when played well, can outperform the Super Conqueror in a situation like this. That's not to say that the Super Conqueror is terrible tank and that I don't like it, or that the Super Conqueror should not be used in 1v1 tournaments, because there are many situations where Super Conqueror hands down beats an E5, and there's also situations I would never run an E5 in a larger format matchup, like a 4v4 on a slower paced map where there's lots of hold downs, because you can't hold a position and the Super Conqueror will beat you every time by penning your weak spot. But in these kinds of all in, all or nothing situations, the T110E5, as I'm continually showing, can definitely perform well in these 1v1 tournaments. and that was the last round on San River. So just yesterday, I'm recording this on a Monday. Just yesterday, I ran the E5 in another 1v1 tournament and hands down dominated and took first place, and that was on Westfield. So I'm just going to cut over to the next replay. 2 rounds in the E5 on each of the 3 maps shown, just to kind of give you some variety of gameplay with the T110E5 here on Westfield. So some players, again, you might want to take a position up here. That would be something a Super Conqueror might want to do. E5, again, I'm not going to do that. But I am fighting against a 140, and so in this kind of scenario, I actually would have the upper hand, but I'm going to advance along the city. I'm not going to cross through the open here because I don't want to get caught out because the 140 is a lot faster. I am confident though that if I close the distance, I would be able to destroy him as well. He's not running hardening. He only has 1,900 HP to my 2,500, and my DPM is almost as good as his, especially if he's running a turbocharger or maybe not even running like Bond Vents and Bond Rammer. He catches me out slightly. He puts one shot and I put in another shot. I massively out trade on him. He fires, but only like a second or so later, second and a half, I am fire again. And the same is true again, but I have to turn around, so he almost gets another shot off there. His mobility compared to me allows him to almost get 2 shots in for the price of 1. But here he bounces, he panics and bounces into my turret, I believe. He's trying to aim for the weak spot, but it doesn't really matter, and I take him out very quickly. The 140 is not good. Just like the Super Conqueror, you suffer from bad fuel tanks, ammo racks, you be set on fire. It is not at all good for 1v1 tournaments. For the final replay of this special video, I have here the T110E5 with my meta loadout against a Type 5 Heavy, so I'm going for that heat straight out of the gate because, you know, you need heat for something like a Type 5 Heavy, and right here I was like, I'm pretty sure the Type 5 Heavy has terrible DPM, no matter the gun it uses. Thankfully, they nerfed that dumb HE gun years back, long ago, long before the great and like awesome HE changes they made last year. They made a lot of really good quality of life changes, like the RD nerfs and all of that. Honestly, with sound detection on my Chief in Clan Wars or Super Conqueror in no reward tank clan battles, if a conch GC or something tries to shoot you from range, like across the map, you get warning with the skill, the perk, and then you can just drive, even a Super Conqueror drive with turbo, and you'll drive fast enough, you'll just completely outpace the shot, and you might not even get stunned. It's really strong. You definitely need to get closer with artillery to be able to reliably hit or just be playing against people who are preoccupied. Enough about artillery though. The one thing about the Type 5 Heavy is that he does have a lot of HP. He's got 400 more HP than me, which had me a little concerned, especially when I put the first shot too low into his tracks. I'm not used to shooting at Type 5 Heavies. But here I just put one in to the flat part of his armor on the front. I don't want to aim for his highly angled part. I decided to go for the lower plate there at first angle because I believe that is weaker than the upper plate. I get a shot in. That was slightly risky because he was getting low enough with only 8 degrees of gun depression. He might have been able to have me hit his angle plate and bounce. But here I'm just way up in HP, up 800 HP. And the Type 5 Heavy, unlike say an E100, which has a lot of HP and a lot of DPM with a smaller gun, since it's buffed at the same time the T110E5 was buffed, that tank is actually very dangerous on some maps like Ents and 1v1s. But Type 5 Heavy is not. I think Wargaming should buff the AP gun so that it's a little more competitive compared to other super heavies. But there you just saw 340 millimeters of heat pen. Definitely works wonders. A Super Conqueror with its 326 millimeters APCR pen would have struggled more. Anyway, that is all I have for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think about the Super Conqueror versus the T110E5, and is also a bit of a new contender, which I'm currently grinding out in the M5Y, which could potentially be a competitor to both the Super Conqueror and T110E5 going forward. With all that being said, hope you guys enjoy. Have a good one.
I need help with the EBR.
We need to turn left.
Keep farming them, keep farming them.
Nate,
Yes.
the one guy, there's VZs. Nate just drives in.
Oh, I got CS and no one else does?
Norton EBR, he doesn't have